My name is Hillary, and I'm going to show you a way to make a full sheet of book cover stickers using any book covers you like. Print it on full sheet label paper, cut it with scissors, use it for your own reading journal, for your book club, or for your students. Here's what a full sheet 8.5 by 11 of 36 stickers might look like. Each sticker is about 1 1/8 inches wide and 1.5 inches high. You can, of course, use a different number of stickers, a 5 by 5 grid or a 4 by 4 grid. And I will show you the math that I used to get this 6 by 6 grid, so you can adapt that math to whatever size stickers you would like. Before we get started, remember that the artwork on a book cover is copyrighted, so you can't sell these stickers. However, according to the 4 principles of fair use, you can use these little stickers for personal, educational, or nonprofit use. So let's get started. The first thing you need to do is save your book cover images to your computer. And we'll use Goodreads. They have great images. What you're going to do is write the book name in the search in the browser, followed by the word Goodreads. Find the image that you like, right-click, open link on new tab, and when you see that new image that you like, right-click again and save image as. Here we go. For example, let's get the Charlotte's Web book cover. I will go to images, and there's the image that I need. The classic image is the one I'm looking for. Right click, open link in new tab. Up here I look at the new tab and there it is. It's kind of a medium size. It's not gigantic, but it will be plenty good for my stickers. Save image as Charlotte's Web. Now I go back to my browser and let's look for Black Beauty by Anna Sewell. Lots of possibilities, and I'll pick this one here. Right click, open link in new tab, and a great image to use. Right click, save image as. Back to the browser, a very clumsy click beetle. Right click, open link in new tab, check it out, and it's going to be a very small image. Every once in a while you get a small image. However, it'll be good enough for my sticker page. You might have to search around a little to find the exact image that you want. For example, if I right click on this one, it's a kind of small and fuzzy image. But if I look around, this one looks pretty clear. It's actually the photograph of a book. And it's a great clear vintage image, as you can see. I'm going to go collect a few more book cover images, and then we'll be ready to start designing our book cover sticker sheet. Here we go with the design process. So sign into your Canva account and go to Create. And then go to Custom Size. And you can see here I already have in the size I want, 816 pixels by 1056 pixels. If you can't remember that, just remember that we're doing an 8.5 by 11 inch sheet. If you type that in and then you change the units to pixels, you'll get the right number, 816 by 1056 pixels. And create new design. So quickly I'll show you the dimensions I've chosen for the table, which will hold the 36 stickers, and I'll explain a little bit the reasoning behind these different numbers. The table is going to be 756 by 984 pixels. Why? Well, that fits within the 816 by 1056 and leaves a little white border around. It has about the same width to height ratio as an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, which is 0.77, and it's divisible by 6, which makes it convenient for the math when making a 6 by 6 grid. All the lines in my table will be 6 pixels wide because it looks nice and it's convenient to have everything in multiples of 6 when you're doing a 6 by 6 table. I need to know the dimensions of each cell of the table. To find the width, I take the width of the table, which is 756, I subtract out the width of each of these 7 vertical lines. Each one is 6 pixels wide, and there are 7 of them, so that's 42. 756 minus 42 is 714. That leaves 714 pixels of white space, and I divide that by the 6 cells. This gives me a width of 119 pixels. Similarly, to find the height of each cell, I take the height of the table, 984 pixels, subtract out the 42 pixels for the 7 horizontal lines. That gives me 942 pixels. I divide that by 6, and I end up with a cell height of 157 pixels. So remember, 119 wide by 157 high, and each book cover image will have to fit into that cell. Okay, let's leave the math and start designing our sticker sheet. So to make the table, go to Tools, click on Table, and here it gives you a 3x4. We're going to add, using the little plus sign in the corner there, 2 more rows, and we're going to add 3 more columns. Then we're going to grow it to somewhere near the size we need. Remember, it's 756, dragging the little handles. 756 on the width, as you can see in that little box there. 756, and the height is supposed to be 984. So I'm going to go up 968, 970, 984. 756 by 984. Okay, I want to make the boxes all the same size, so I highlight a row and click on the 3 dots, and it says size columns equally. And then I can highlight a column. By the way to highlight a whole column or any series of cells is to click on the first cell in the series, take your finger off the mouse, then click on the cell again and drag it through all the cells you want to include. 3 dots and size rows equally. Now we want to add thickness and color to the border lines, and to do that, first we need to select the whole table. To select the whole table, click on the top left corner, take your finger off the mouse, then click on it again, keep your finger down and drag to the bottom right, and now you've selected the whole table. Go to borders, pick thickness, and we're going to go with 6 pixels. And I like using as a color this light gray. Done. Now we're going to upload the book cover images that we previously saved. Upload files. And mine were not screenshots, they were downloads. So I'm going to select all the different images that I want to use. And there they are. Okay, let's talk about positioning. Right now I have the table about somewhere in the middle, and I'm going to put it as close to the middle as I can. As close to the middle of the 8.5 by 11 sheet, in other words. And then I'm going to click the position button. The position button gives me the coordinates, the X and Y coordinates for the upper left-hand corner of the table. And I just want to round these numbers to nice whole numbers, 30 and 34. Okay, let's see what we can do here. 30, and that's close to 34. So now our table is positioned very, very close to the center of the sheet, but it's positioned with whole number coordinates, which are easier to work with. I see that during all the moving around, the width and height of my table got messed up. So I'm going to retype in the correct numbers, 756 and 984. I'm also going to keep the ratio locked for both the table and the book covers that I work with. Most of my book covers I'm going to position first using the Y coordinate. So for the first book cover that's going to go in here, the Y coordinate is 34 where the white ends, and then you add 6 more for that little gray line, gives us a Y coordinate of 40. So the top of my first book cover is going to align with a y coordinate of 40. So let's bring one in. Let's start with Black Beauty. There it is, obviously much too big. So I'm going to bring it down to a smaller size, and I'm going to color the 4 cells that Black Beauty is going to go into. I'll click on this first cell, and then I'm going to ask for coloring. Canva looked at the Black Beauty cover and said, these are some colors in there. Would you like to use one of those? And I'll say, sure. I'll use the olive green one. And I'm going to also command click on these 3 cells and make them olive green. Now I'm going to reduce the size of the Black Beauty cover. The Black Beauty cover needs to be no taller than 157 because that is what my cells are sized as. Height of 157. You see that? I'm bringing it down to 155, 157. And you see that when I reach a height of 157, the width is 110 pixels, which is slightly less than the width of the cell, which is 119 pixels. It's always going to be like that. One dimension will be exactly the dimension of the cell, and the other dimension will be slightly less. That's why I color the backgrounds of the cells, to block out any little white pieces that might show up. Now I'm going to position the cover right there, more or less in the spot that I think. I'm also going to duplicate the cover. As you can see, the duplication is not working. So what I've learned is if this happens, there's 2 things you can do which will make it work. One is reboot Canva, and the second is position your full sheet so you can see the full sheet on the screen. You don't want to have it so zoomed that you're only seeing half the sheet. So reboot and view the full sheet on the screen, and your duplication should work fine. There we go. We have 4 copies now of Black Beauty. I'm going to position Black Beauty so that the top of the cover hits pixel y coordinate 40, because that's 34 of the white and 6 of the gray line. 34 plus 6 is 40. By hand I got it to 42.9 as you can see, but I'm going to change it to 40, and that'll put Black Beauty just exactly where I want him to be. I'm going to put that one in line as well, that one in line as well, and that one in line as well. Now as you can see, they're all moved to the right. I really want them centered, so let me change the X coordinate. Remember to position an image, click on the image and then click the position button, and that will give you the coordinates of that particular image, the upper left corner of that particular image. 41. Okay, now I'm going to move these guys over a little bit, and you see Canvas is trying to help me out here, trying to give me the same number of pixels between each of the covers. And there's my first set of book cover stickers. Let's continue with another book cover. Let's try Swiss Family Robinson. Bring it down to a smaller size, bring it to close to where I need, look at it, and I'm going to color that new cell. So you see the Canva gave me a new set of colors for Swiss Family Robinson, and I think I might like to just continue the gray on this one. So again, I'm going to color that, and I'll make them that nice gray. I'm going to bring Swiss Family Robinson down to size. The maximum size height can be 157 pixels. That's close. I will click on my position button and make sure that it's just 157. Okay, I'll bring it up here. Now the top of Swiss Family Robinson is going to be what the top of Black Beauty was, plus 157 for the picture, plus 6. So it was at 40 plus 157 plus 6 is 203. A little too high. I'm going to change it to 203. I'm going to duplicate the 4 copies, And I'm going to bring them into 203, 203, 203, and look at that. That time they line me up quite nicely, all ready to go. If I'm not sure about the alignment, I can zoom in a little bit. At first glance, it does look like the books are shifted slightly to the right, but that's because there's a dark book spine in the image, so I'm going to leave it as is. Okay, speeding up, I'm going to bring in Pride and Prejudice. I'm going to shrink it down, I'm going to move it close to where I want, and get ready to color. But I don't like the colors that they've given me. To pick my own color, I go to Custom Colors, click on it, grab the eyedropper, and hover over the image till I find a color I like. I like this pink. So again, I'll color these 3 cells as well with that pink. Okay, now I'll take Pride and Prejudice herself down. She needs to be no more than 157. Can't quite get it myself, so I hit the position button and I make it 157. Okay, she's gonna go in. I'm gonna add again. Her top is going to be 203 plus 157 plus 6, which gives me 366. So the top of Pride and Prejudice has to be at a y coordinate of 366. I'm going to duplicate her 3 times. 366, 366. That one didn't quite get it, I don't think. 366. Now I just have to adjust the left and right positioning of the Pride and Prejudice covers, typing in coordinates and keeping my eye on the positioning, or dragging the different covers, trying to get them equally spaced. And now they are at 11, 11, 11 pixels of spacing, and they look nice. There are a couple special cases. If your book cover is significantly wider than it is tall, like this Blueberries for Sale book, you can turn it 90 degrees. The second special case is if your book cover is just a little bit squatter than the average book cover, a little bit squatter than the cells in our sheet, such as this book Harold and the Purple Crayon. If I start to shrink it down and I get to 157, my width will still be a little too big, just a little wider than my cell. So I'm going to bring the width of my book cover down to 119, which is the width of my cell. And that will put the height at 154 pixels, which is a little less than the height of my cells. Now the width is the correct width for these cells, but you see that there's just a little bit of white space above and below. So I'm going to color these 4 cells the black of the Harold cover, and to do that I have to click on See All. So I can get to the Harold and the Purple Crayon colors, and I'll pick that black. So I'm going to duplicate it. And the first one now, instead of lining it up top to bottom, I'm going to line it up left to right. Remember that the X coordinate was at a 30 for white space and then 6. So Harold and the Purple Crayon left to right has got to hit 36. Got as close as I could. I'll change it to 36. All right. And then these guys are going to go in there and there and there. Now, where does the second Purple Crayon go? Well, it was 30 plus 6 is 36 for the first column, plus another 119 and another 6, which makes 161. So I made a slide which shows you the positioning of each cell. For Harold and the Purple Crayon, we placed our first image at 36 pixels on the x-axis. Then we added the 119 and 6, and our second column, the cover was placed at 161 pixels. Again, adding 119 and 6, or 125. The third column, the far left side, will be placed at 286 pixels, the fourth column 411 pixels, and the fifth column 536 pixels, and so on. Similarly, just the same thing we did for the images that we were lining up vertically. The top of the first row is at 40 pixels, the top of the second row is at 203 pixels, the top of the third row is at 366 pixels, and so on. So you can always use this table and the positioning button to get each image exactly where you want it. Well, once you get the hang of this, it doesn't take too long to design these book cover sticker sheets. I'm going to finish up this sheet and I'll let you know how long it takes me. And here's the finished product. It took me about 11 minutes to add the extra 4 books, so that was about 40 seconds per sticker. Not bad for a custom sticker sheet. I also did go back and adjust things by 1 or 2 pixels. In fact, I shrunk almost all the cover sizes down to 156 pixels high, and I adjusted the positioning of each cover by 1 or 2 pixels just to make sure everything was centered in their cells. When I zoomed in, it was easier to see which covers were off by a little bit, and so I just adjusted the X and Y coordinates. Well, thank you for watching, and I hope you have great fun creating your own sticker sheets. Bye for now!